Okay, hello everybody. I got all the links spammed around. Lower the holding screen now. I'm not saying there won't be any burps this stream, but I'm drinking a coffee, so probably won't be as burpy as usual. It's been a while since I streamed, so maybe it would be a little much for new viewers or long-time returning ones if it was just a barrage of burps. But you know me, I'll probably still have some burps anyways. Well, first of all, it doesn't show up on the chat box because it happened before I went live, but big thanks to Faye, who did a super chat of $9.99. I believe that's showing it in my currency of Canadian. And they sent me a little sticker of a Shiba Inu tooting, or like yelling into a megaphone thing. I said tooting as in tooting a trumpet. It's yelling into a megaphone thing. It says good luck. So thanks for that super chat, Faye. Appreciate it. And also hello Fiverr, Sugar Candy Miniatures. Good to see ya. And Dark Jewel GM, Robert Westfall, long time no see. And Ido Raman. Hello. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, it feels good to be back streaming again. Yes, I was traveling a bit. I tried to imply in the title of the stream there would be some, or I've got tales to regale you of. I do need to make sure I start painting before I do that though, otherwise I'll be too slow to get to the paint and I got a big backlog, you know. Tonight I'm working on some soldier boys for my 100 Kingdoms army. These are men-at-arms. I'm figuring out a test scheme with these. The next video isn't going to be about Conquest. The next video is going to have some Gunpla, or the main feature of it's going to be Gunpla. It's not ready to paint yet. It's like I've recorded the ASMR, but I'm not finished building it or prepping it or anything. So I just wanted to get the test color scheme figured out for these guys tonight, and then probably the next stream, which will probably be next week. We'll see. Next week it might be busy, but I generally want to just try and stream as often as I can because I've got a lot of miniatures to paint, but I will be, the next stream will probably be painting Gunpla, assuming I get it ready in time. And then the video after the next video will be more about painting Conquest minis, so I've got like 24 men-at-arms total to paint. I don't know if I'm painting all of them in the upcoming video, but I figured these three, the bases on them are already done. It'll be a good way to just get the color scheme for them figured out, because it's going to be a little different from my Steel Legion, which were those purple great sword wielding lads that are also from my army. Also, let me know if the mic is loud enough and the picture looks good and the background music and all that. Hello, Xerox EXE 111. Yeah, I'm not in the Squamish Valley, but the Squamish Valley is very nice. I said men-at-arms, Fiverr. They're the men-at-arms of the 100 Kingdoms. Conquest does have minotaurs in it though, but they're for a different faction called the City-States. Also, hello Hugo. I think I need to change the focus point for the camera. Okay, that'll be better. Okay. So, sorry, I bumped the desk there, trying to get my chair into position. The Steel Legion that I painted for my 100 Kingdoms, they have these are gonna share the same colors with them except for the purple. Instead of purple, I'm gonna be using blue. And that's just because of the color scheme I have figured out for the army. I guess this is a spoiler for not the next video, but the one after. Part of my color scheme for my 100 Kingdoms army is the light units are the color's gonna switch from purple to green. For the medium units, it's gonna be blue. Then for the heavy units, which I've already painted one, it's going to be purple. And then you probably noticed, or you might have noticed in the last video I put out where I was painting those retinue kit bashes. Those go along with the warlords in the game, and for the warlords I'm painting the colors changing from purple to red. So, because I kind of wanted my medieval looking 100 Kingdoms army to have like just the look of like a bunch of different colors of regiments, kind of. Also, I've got this fun thrift store mug. I'll hold it up to the webcam there. You can see it says I Heart Mussertash. Yeah, sorry if you were hoping for Minotaurs, Fiverr. If I had the city-states faction models, I would definitely show you the Minotaurs because they're pretty sweet. I got to play with them a lot at GameCon Canada. Geez, that was 2 weeks ago, I think now. Because one of the demo armies was the city-states. And they've got these big, beefy Minotaur models. It's a dual kit, so you can build them with two-handed weapons, or you can build them with a big shield and a one-handed weapon, and they wreck face in the game. Hello, Taz, welcome. I'm glad to be back live streaming. Thanks for coming. And Robert, the Gundam Evolution Discord server is nice, but I haven't really interacted much in any Discord servers because I've been away and I've been pretty busy. I would have posted the link to this stream in that Discord if it was a Gundam painting one. I try to like delegate where my link posting goes to remain on topic, so to speak. Oh, hello, Jordan. I mean, you can commission me to paint your cows. I'll paint them if I get paid. Oops, I bumped the desk again there. Okay. Before I paint any of the colors, I do need to do a wee bit of dry brushing. So I'll just get ready to start doing that here. Oh yeah, I need to put some, need to grab my black surface primer because my iconic dry palette, which just has a bunch of paint caked on it, I decided to glue some basing sand in the corner here because like this was already could have been used as a texture palette, because I've recently learned, like many hobbyists, that it's better to use a texture palette than a cloth to wipe off your brush for dry brushing. So I glued some sand on. That was this afternoon though, so I need to put a layer of primer on there. And speaking of brushing on primer, me and Taz talked about that the other day because we're doing a little video call for a video of his that came out today, which was about hand painting Gunpla. So if y'all are looking for content to watch after this, definitely check that out. Let's use this brush. I'm glad you think it's a fair statement, Jordan. Thank you for respecting my my skill and time. Not that I expected anything less. Yeah, I was talking about the Gundam Explained Discord server, Robert. That's what I was talking about. Maybe I said something else accidentally, but alright, we're just splashing on some primer there. I'm gonna spread it around just to seal in this sand extra good. And yeah, for anyone who hasn't heard about the dry brushing texture palette thing, I'd seen a couple people talk about it, both in... I haven't watched any videos about it, but I saw like videos about it start to show up. I originally saw it in a Facebook post, I believe. And it's basically that when you wipe off your brush for dry brushing on a paper towel, like most of us have been doing for years, it still works fine and everything, but it sucks the moisture out of the paint. And with a texture palette, you get like more of the moisture on the brush still, but you're still able to, what's the word I'm looking for? You're still able to wipe off most of the paint as you need for dry brushing. And apparently you get a better dry brushing result. Dry brushing isn't a major part of painting these models, but you know, as I was prepping, I was thinking like, well, this thing's already pretty textured. I can just glue a little sand in the corner. Why not? I have a handy bottle of thinned down glue already. Hello, Caleb. It has been ages since the last stream. Feels like that to me too. Oh, I said Gundam Evolution. Okay. Yeah, Gundam Evolution, Gundam Explained. Those are pretty close. And they do talk about Gundam Evolution in the Gundam Explained server. I don't even have Steam installed on my computer right now, unfortunately. Oh, and in case you tuned out earlier and are back now, Faye, thank you for the super chat that you donated before the stream even started. That was a nice surprise. Okay, well, that I do need to wait for that to dry, so I think what I'll do, since I can't dry brush until that part's dry, I think I'm gonna figure out some test patterns on the shields. If you saw the last video I did, one of the retinue kit bashes, I did some like fairly basic freehand on the back of the shield, and the shields on these men-at-arms have like a nice flat plane to them that's just asking to be free-handed all over. But the problem is this is like a unit of foot soldiers and there's 24 of them, and you know, if the way I'm thinking of expanding my army, I'll probably end up with another 10 or 12 after kit bashing. Looks like my webcam isn't focusing properly. So there's going to be some kind of pattern drawn on here, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple because I'm going to have to repeat it 24 times at the very least. And I got to stay sane, you know? Just a hashtag just army painting things. Yes, Caleb, I did finish The Witch from Mercury, and it was really good. I liked it. I was a little underwhelmed, mostly because I wanted more episodes. It felt like the story was rich enough that they could have done a lot more episodes. I really liked the Gundam Calibarn's design. It felt just a little rushed at the end, but let's keep the chat Witch from Mercury spoiler free, everybody, because it's a good show that's worth watching. Hello, Masked Gamer. Paint Ava units on those shields? Calibarn, am I right? Yeah. Yeah, I loved it how the red permit part from like Ariel originally, which starts off red with Calibarn. I like how it becomes rainbow. It's amazing. I don't know if you used Twitter or saw my tweet about it, but I very much like the Calibarn. Well, to start working out this pattern, probably have to get up and grab a gray paint eventually. But Fiverr, which Ava units should I paint onto the, oh, we need the wet palette. Onto the shields. Do all 24 men-at-arms get like the same Ava unit, like Ava Unit 1? Because that one's like arguably the best design. Or I could do the even split, so like 8 of shields of each Ava. I'll be using the fancier, bigger Army Painter wet palette for the next Gunpla I'm painting, ideally next week. So the Men-at-Arms get the slightly smaller Frontier Wargaming wet palette. Unit 0 is pretty good too. But yeah, it is undeniable that Unit 1 is the most iconic. I'm okay spoiling that the Calibarn has a rainbow design on it because that was shown in the promo images for the Gunpla product that's coming out that Bandai posted themselves. Let's see, yeah, this one's fine. Okay. So like I said, gonna keep it basic. And the white and the bronze are like the main unifying colors across the army. Like the Steel Legion I painted, they've got the white cloth wrappings all over their arms. So the shield's gonna be a mix of white and blue. And I know I want to do lines going down from the corner here. Let's make sure everything's in focus. Probably said this already, but if there's any quality issues with the audio or video on the stream, just let me know, as usual. So yeah, we'll get these two lines going down to about roughly the center. Just gonna put a dot there. And this is just like the initial sketch, so I'm honestly not worried at all about the shapes being uneven or the lines being wobbly or what have you. And once I figure out the pattern on the shield, I'll repeat it on the other two, and then I can start giving a recap of what I've been up to, I guess. That's what I hinted at in the, I didn't even hint, it was just what I said I would be talking about in the promotion and title for this stream. I'm gonna thin this just a little bit. Now I could do a straight line down. That's probably what makes the most sense. But then the question becomes, like, does this whole area become like a massive blue? Or I guess we could do... Yeah, it's hard to say. We could do blue, white, but then what goes on the top? We could do like a line going straight down. Okay, well I won't go up here with the straight line, but I'll go down to the point at the bottom of the shield, and then we'll see. Or I'll be able to visualize what to do better. And I am using my crappy brushes at this point. You can see this one doesn't have a very fine tip when it comes to actually finishing the shields, like later on in this painting. I'll probably switch to a nicer brush. I guess what we could do a fully... We could do like a fully blue background and change these stripes into white. Might not look too bad. And like have some like multi lines going on, or we could have like the background. Oh, we don't want to have too much of the background be white though, because that's a lot of white to paint, which we might not necessarily want to do. You don't need to worry about it, Robert. Appreciate the thought. I mean, like, I don't mind if you do it, but you don't need to do that for me. It's enough to just have you enjoying the stream. If I was like an ultra extreme, like pro painter, paints like museum pieces or whatever, I would just go ham on the freehand for all of these. Oh, this shield's a bit different. This one, the rivets are on the inside part. Well, that just means I'll have to go back and finish them with a little dot of metallic afterwards. Hello, Dolfo. Thanks for coming. Just trying to figure out what pattern or how I want to fill out the pattern on the shield here. I think we probably want the full... Okay, wait, I have some white here. Should probably get some of that on the palette. I'm thinking maybe this blue line can be white instead. But I can make the blue line... Or I can make the white line decently thick, and then I can do another blue line inside of it, perhaps. This dead white is almost empty, but I could probably get a bit out of it still. Oh yeah, there's still some in there. Just gotta make sure I store it upside down. I suppose there's also merit in making the pattern asymmetrical, but I paint things, or I tend to paint things, or like prefer symmetry in general, so I don't always think about that. Oh, my mind just decided to paint that when I start talking about symmetrical, or it being asymmetrical, and that suddenly seemed like a good idea actually, so I'm gonna see where this goes. I decided at some point that I would just figure this out live on stream for you all to see. Let's just do another quick line of blue for a sec. Up the middle there. Oh, thank you for the $5 super chat, Otaku Builder. Appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Hope you've been doing well. Oh, and hello, Icy Hot Flash. I will make more videos of whatever I want when I make them. Sometimes the patrons get a poll to vote on that will influence something in the video, but it's not the topic anymore. I changed the benefit. I'd done a couple votes for like video topic, but now it's more like votes on things like the colors I paint depending on the project. And even when it was voting on a topic, it was still like from a list of 5 topics that I curated. Sorry if that response seemed harsh, but I guess it's not that harsh. I think it's a standard response as a YouTuber to have. When people are like, make this right now, or do this. Thank you, Neon Glowspec 32. Yeah, let's fill in the other side with the blue here. Then if the line remains blue, then like blue will be just like slightly more blue in the color balance, which I think is what I want. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better about this now that I like added that stripe in the middle. like I said before, when I'm confident that this is a pattern I'm gonna go with, I will start regaling you of the travels. Alright, what do we think of this shield design, people? The camera's being a little laggy. I'm gonna turn it on and off. Alright, that's better. The only other thing I might think to do, and this might look better if I connect the two white sections, like so the corners touch. I guess one question is whether to add a third color to it or not. We could make the line black. Okay, well, there's only a little bit of white left on the palette. So let's just use that up before it's gone. Dark Jewel says, outside of modeling and making YouTube videos, what other creative pursuits do you have? Oh, well, I used to play guitar. I don't really do that much anymore. I like to write sometimes. I don't do it so much anymore because the YouTube work involves working with cameras, but I used to do a decent amount of... I started off doing like portraits, street photography, and landscapes, but most of the like stuff I actively pursued creatively was landscapes. That was like my preferred. Do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I consider that a creative hobby, especially when you're DMing, but even as a player character, that can be a creative hobby. And you know, that crosses over with the mini painting stuff. Those are probably the other main creative pursuits I have off the top of my head. Yeah, messing up a little bit, but it's fine. What were you thinking, Neon Glow, about the shield? About adding a third color? I think that's something I'll probably decide when I come around to, or once I'm done with the airbrushing and we're getting a little bit more into it. But I still got lots of blue on the palette, so I'm going to use up the rest of that on the other shields. And by the time that's done, the primer on the texture palette, it's getting there. I should have primed that before the stream. My apologies. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when my last live stream was, but the last video I put out was right before Odafest, and I don't know, a lot of you watching have probably remember, like, saw my posts back then. I won and I'll recap some of this in the upcoming video when it's ready too. I won in the small category in the Gunpla contest, which was pretty cool. Oh no, that one's supposed to be white on that side. Maybe I'll just leave it like that. I don't know. Part of me wants I would be justified in having the shield patterns not be the same across the entire unit. What was I saying? Yeah, Odafest won the small Gunpla competition, and then I was in town for a week after that, and then I went to the UK, where I went to the UK Games Expo. The trip to the UK was for like a family reason, but you know, we went a little bit early so we could hit up the UK Games Expo. Blue Parappa and I. You know, it was my idea. So I appreciated the opportunity to go. And then first time in the UK, so you know I had to go to Warhammer World, obviously. been on the trip bucket list for a while. It's like a wargamer pilgrimage. Ah, the white connecting. Gotcha. I can tidy up this blue bit. I might as well start doing some of the blue clothes they're gonna wear. And if I'll just have to go over the areas that I get some dry brushing on. Anyone else have thoughts on this pattern? On anything they think it might be lacking or needing? Yeah, I've had a bit of a con season this year, which is weird because it's not like usually I only go to one con a year, and that's my local con, Odafest. And it's like a nice chill time. Like, it can get busy some days, but it's usually not like crazy intense busy or anything like that. But the UK Games Expo, that's like a really big premier event, so there's a lot of people there. It was quite crowded. Yeah, and then, so that was my second con of the year. Then my third con of the year ended up being GameCon Canada, which was thankfully in my home city. Because I could only afford the one big traveling trip this year. I couldn't afford to travel for multiple cons. That's not something I would usually tend to do anyways. GameCon Canada was a interesting mix of like tabletop stuff and video games. It was the first time it ever happened. Like, it was the first inaugural year for this con, and I believe it's gonna happen again next year, so it must have been decently successful. At that con, I was, if you saw the post I made, I was at the Parabellum Games booth the entire time. I was brought in to help run demos since it's in my local area, and they are partnered with my friendly local gaming store. Thanks, Hugo. Yeah, 3 cons in like a month-ish, I guess. Just over a month. Which was a new experience for me. I had fun at all of them, but it was a lot. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a slightly bigger brush. Not a bigger one, this one's shorter, but it's a bit wider. That's what I wanted. Gold pips on the blue field. Yeah, I was thinking maybe there could be a line in the middle of the shape that's black, and then I could do a gold on top of that. I mean, one of the shields has the gold, or like these pips will get, definitely get gold, or the color. These look gold, but the color is Vallejo model color bronze, so it definitely looks like a lot like a gold though. And some of these men-at-arms, like this guy's kind of got a tunic on over armor, and then this one has like actual breastplate, so they're gonna have different balances of blue across them. And I should possibly be using starting with a darker shade of blue. Yeah, I think when I was getting the paints ready earlier, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, because it's like I gotta batch paint a lot of these, so I want to be fast. So there's the argument for just like base coating it this blue, giving it like a wash at the same time I'm washing the armor, and then just highlight on top of that, even though the painter brain is kind of going like, no, you gotta base coat it with a darker blue first. Might use it if I want to do some like minor shading in the shield pattern. If you are one of my patrons, there is a Patreon exclusive vlog you can watch right now that has a bit of like early footage from the cons I was at, but the main like Patreon exclusive part of the vlog is I did a little haul section in it to show off the goodies I picked up, because I did some shopping as you do at a con. Say probably the biggest part, or the biggest thing for me from GameCon Canada was finally connecting with the people from Parabellum Games in person there. 'Cause they had a presence, and I found out this, they told me this hilarious story, because I went and talked to one of the guys at the booth. I was looking for the community manager, because that's who I'd been told was aware that I'd be coming, and I introduced myself. I'm like, I'm Liam, and he was like, I know who you are, we've got a picture of you printed out in the office. I was like, what? Apparently from the video I did in November where I talked about the tabletop games I like, there's a part where I'm holding the Conquest companion book, and apparently they took a screenshot from that video and printed it out in their office, and they call me Conquest Jesus. So that was an entertaining story that came out of UK Games Expo. I guess I'm Conquest Jesus to them, or to some of them in the office. I can't speak for the company or anything. But you know, after that joke, we got to talking and stuff, and found out that we talked about how they were gonna be in my home city for GameCon Canada, because they're, you know, at like a lot of different tabletop cons across the globe, a lot of companies have booths set up, so they had a presence at GameCon Canada, and we got to talking about how like, oh yeah, that's my hometown, and then their retailer that they were partnering with for that con was my local game store. And so that was how I ended up running demos with Parabellum at GameCon Canada, which was super fun. It was super tiring, you know, being on my feet all day for the whole con, but I was like on my feet playing Conquest with people and like talking about Conquest and just talking tabletop gaming in general, so I can't really complain about that. And also hang out with the Conquest players at the UK Games Expo. Back to that for a second, that was really nice. I got to play in a fun like multiplayer battle with them on the Sunday. They let me borrow some miniatures because, you know, I didn't travel with any miniatures because my luggage was already pretty tight, and also traveling with miniatures is a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, I don't know whether to paint this horizontal stripe cloth or not. I can't quite tell if it's cloth or armor. I think it makes sense to paint it as cloth though. And yeah, now it's happened this way, like the last week or so, I've been working on a lot of Conquest stuff because I've been getting ready to like continue running demos and just like hosting Conquest game nights at my local store. Also my window's open. If you guys can hear the like people making noise in the courtyard of in the green space in my building, just let me know and I can close my window. I don't think the mic's picking up too much of it though. So yeah, I'm organizing Conquest nights at my local store now, which is pretty good. That we got a lot of people interested in the game from GameCon, and I have long been yearning for the days of before the great Panini of 2020, where I had like a regular like weekly game night to go to at the game store, which used to be what I did with War Machine and Hordes, but that's pretty much evaporated in my area. And you know, I'm not gonna sell my War Machine and Hordes armies or anything, but I'm also very into Conquest right now, so that's what I'm focusing my energy on. last week or so, I was getting some of the demo armies that were brought to GameCon Canada were left behind to go to the local game store, so I had to get those ready for demos. And I had to do some work with my 100 Kingdoms and Spires armies just so they would be like ready to play with at the store. Still so much painting to do with them though, obviously. But the prep work for all that's done now. So next week I should be working on the next video Gundam project, which I have already started. I've just like recorded the ASMR for it, but not quite at the painting stage yet. Get there soon though. And then the video after that will be actual proper video about painting the 100 Kingdoms armies. You wanted to show your new mecha whip artwork? Or is that what you're saying, Robert? Yeah, the demo armies that I was getting ready for the local store are the Wadroon and the Old Dominion, which are the Old Dominion. They're like the Roman Byzantine Empire kind of, but they're undead, so they're pretty sweet. And the Wadroon, they're like the orc faction of Conquest. So they're like a matriarchal tribal society, but they also ride dinosaurs. They're also pretty sweet. Unfortunately, the demo army doesn't have the cool orc riding T-Rex model, but it does have a unit of raptor riders, which are pretty sweet. Oh, that's cool. You did some mecha artwork, Robert. You've probably, I'm assuming you might have already shared it in the Gundam Explained server, but that seems like the appropriate place to share that kind of stuff. Does anyone want to take a guess at what the upcoming Gunpla project is going to be? I'll accept a few blind guesses and then I'll start giving some hints. And I'll try and think about whether there's any more. I guess I do have some more. Or I can talk about what Nottingham was like. That's where Warhammer World was. But I'll take some guesses first. I could. I mean, I don't. Me and SentryBucks haven't figured out if the demo armies are mine yet, because that's kind of unclear. We need to talk, or we need to like get clarification on that. But they weren't painted by me, so they'll never like really feel like they're mine. And I don't have the funds to add the 2 big dinos to the demo armies, as epic as those armies would be with them. I got so much of my own stuff to paint. If I'm gonna paint like a massive epic centerpiece dino model, or like just a big centerpiece model like that, I'd rather put in the effort for one of my own armies. Unless, you know, the SentryBox or Parabellum wants to commission me to paint one of them. I'm just too financially minded right now. Because then bills be tight, you know. But for this first stream back, it has been nice to get 2 super chats. Oh, we got a heavy arms guess, an Ilfrith, or Elfrith, and Ariel. I will say Sean is correct. Robert, you were close, but it is the Ariel. After finishing Witch from Mercury, I was like clipping out the parts for the Ariel, and I was like, man, I kind of wish I was building the Calibarn right now, even though it's not out. But the Ariel is still a great design. And I haven't quite decided how I'm going to customize it yet. That's what I'll be figuring out next week. Yeah, so this guy's got an actual metal breastplate, so he's only got a blue skirt. It's the high grade. I don't have the full mechanics one, but I have heard the full mechanics one is pretty great. I think at the end of the day, I'd rather have the high grade over the full mechanics, because if I mean, my shelf space is pretty tight, so size is always or smaller size is always good, or usually good, I should say. And also, if I was building the full mechanics, I'd just be wishing the whole time that it was a master grade, you know? I wonder when the first Witch from Mercury master grade will come out. If ever. I'm assuming it will, because the show has been really popular and the high grades have been selling really well. Yeah, I think how I was explaining earlier about how I'm skipping the like darker blue base coat step is probably the wise decision, just to make it go along a bit faster. Because there are 24 of these boys, and then there's a whole like other army to paint, or like the whole rest of the 100 Kings army, and then the whole Spire's army as well. The Spire's army will paint a bit faster, just because of the way I've developed that paint scheme. I also wonder if any of the earlier, how much different the earlier models will be now that I'm going to be trying the slightly different dry brushing technique. Yeah, Sparkster, there's only one Kshatriya, like one official Kshatriya out there really. It's the high grade, and it is a pretty good high grade. But many people have been lamenting the lack of a master grade Kshatriya for years, which would be a pretty big kit, but it would be pretty epic as well. Oh well, I'm glad my stream is having that effect on you, Jordan. Not the guilty part, I mean like or it feels like I'm indirectly motivating you to paint. But you know, from what I can tell, you're a pretty seasoned wargamer, so you've probably got a backlog like mine where it's just vast and endless, and there'll always be some backlog, which is also of course probably a very familiar experience for many of the Gunpla builders. Now, of course, if you're like me, or, you know, I'm sure other people here, if you do Gunpla and minis, then your backlog is in a whole different zone. That's just part of the hobby. I think it's nice that most people refer to it as a pile of opportunity these days rather than a pile of shame. I think it's just a general good positive to spin to put on it. I'm just doing a quick second coat here with the remaining paint on the palette. Wow, damn, you got into Gunpla and 4 different games at the same time. Not bad. Even though 3 out of those 4 games aren't as good as one of them, if you know what I mean. So you're into wargaming before, but then you were away for years? Were you also like into Gunpla before, or was Gunpla a new hobby for you? Yeah, Dolpho, no shame, only goes. Oh yeah, the orcs have some pretty great Mad Max style stuff. Oh yeah, and the good old the lion. You're probably talking about the orc boss Gazkul. And Robert, I'm not gonna do that. I don't have Discord open because I'm painting on this painting stream of mine. And that's just not something I do on streams. And I think it's general good Discord etiquette to not ping about stuff like that. But you know, it's not bad Discord etiquette to like share your artwork on the servers and the appropriate channels depending on the server, or like share your own stream if you ever do one, or a video, you know, on the appropriate channel depending on the server. But I'm going to continue working on these men-at-arms. Oh, you're painting orcs right now, Dolpho. Very nice. Yeah, I thought you could relate to that, Jordan. Nice. Gunpla and Tau next to each other, Sparkster. Did you customize the Gunpla to go with the Tau army? Sorry, I just read the second part of your message. You say the temptation to mix them is strong. Well, you should give it a shot then. It wasn't with the Tau army. I saw someone painted up an RX-78 high grade to be a dreadnought, like an Ultramarines dreadnought. That's alright, Robert. It's, you know, just one of those things. There's you know, a lot of different Discord servers and content creators out there. There's no like official guidebook or rule book for anything. So sometimes it can be a little unclear or implied. You don't have to feel bad though. I'm not gonna boot you out of the stream or anything. Oh, Jordan, you'd watched Gundam for years, but your first Gunpla kit was last year. Nice. What was your first kit? And also, what's your favorite Gundam show, if you can pick one? Okay, we've pretty much used up the blue on the palette there. The texture palette looks like it needs a few more minutes, so I'm just gonna add a dollop of white onto the palette and just get that on the shields of the other lads. Yeah, doing a white, blue, red Gundam theme for a Tau. That would look pretty flashy on the table. Flashy in a good way. Or jet black and just edge highlight everything in neon. Yeah, that can also look good. Or like panel line it neon. This dead white is almost empty, so it's a little explosive when I try and squeeze the paint out of it. I got a little bit in the sponge, so I'm just gonna dilute that and pretend it never happened, because it's just a little bit. Gundam Wing. The Gundam Wing opening song is one of the best Gundam OPs. It's one of the best anime OPs songs out there. I love it. I wish I could go to a karaoke bar and sing it tonight. Wait, I don't wish that. I want to keep streaming and get this painting work done, but next time I'm at a karaoke bar, it would be amazing if they had that song. It'd be amazing if a karaoke bar in Canada would have any Gundam OP song. There's some that might. You never know. Oh, and yeah, your first Gunpla was the Barbatos. Was that the Master Grade Barbatos? That's like a pretty big one to have for your first one, but would be still, I think, like, if you're familiar with building models, you could probably handle it. But the second Gunpla I ever customized was the high grade Barbatos Lupus. Stardust Memory, I haven't seen that one yet, unfortunately. There's a few good Gundam OPs out there. Painting and karaoke stream. That sounds very difficult. Are you talking about like painting miniatures while also trying to sing karaoke? I'd only be able to do, or like that would be like doable if I had the lyrics memorized already, in which case I'm just singing along. So I don't know, does that cease being karaoke? I'm not sure. A karaoke stream would be fun. I don't know about doing mini painting and karaoke at the same time. That could work like as a challenge video. You're like, what up, YouTube? I'm gonna sing karaoke while trying to paint this Gundam or paint this mini. That's definitely a form of clickbait I haven't seen on Gunpla or mini YouTube. I don't know if I have it in me to pull that off though. That sounds pretty tricky. Well, thanks for saying good luck. Not making any promises to actually do in that stream. That would require a lot of practice. The strike, that's another iconic one. Nothing wrong with a straight build. Yeah, now there is the issue of the colors on this one being reversed. But I could keep it like that. I think I'll probably decide after. Alright, let's just clean this brush off a bit more. There's still a bit of white on the palette. Let's find one that's dry. This one's dry. Give it a second coat. I could be the first Hugo, you're right. First I was known as the guy who hand-painted Gunpla, and then I was known as the guy who streamed while painting and doing karaoke at the same time. There might be some areas on the bodies of the models to add white accent into the mix, but not sure. If the shield is the only spot where the white shows up, that's probably fine. Good one, Jordan. I don't know if I can recite that one though. I'm not gonna try and recite that while I'm also painting. That'll just cause me to make a mistake. Yeah, I have the Gundam Wing OP stuck in my head now, which isn't a bad thing. Well, as there's still paint on the palette, let's just see if there's any spots that could use some white. Yeah, I don't know. It might just be on the shields. Or there's probably some opportunities to use white on the command models, because there's a dude that's holding like a kind of baton stick thing that has a ribbon on it. So that could be white, and then the standard is gonna be blue mostly, but there's definitely some room for white details and accents there. Oh, I could do white trim here. That's a pretty fine detail though, so we're definitely gonna leave that for later in the process. Okay, let's close up the wet palette here because it's metallic time. Texture palette isn't quite dry yet, but that's fine. So we can pick out some of the silver details. So I can keep using this brush for now. So we're gonna grab the good old Game Color gunmetal. Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you more about the trip. After the UK Games Expo, we made the pilgrimage to Warhammer World, because, you know, I gotta do it first time in the UK. Warhammer World was pretty cool. You've probably, like, most people that know about, like, Warhammer or wargaming have probably heard or, like, know a decent bit about Warhammer World already. It's basically, like, it's like a smallish Warhammer museum you can check out. It's like a big exhibition that's part of a building that's like kind of just like a Games Workshop on steroids. That's also like where the Games Workshop offices are. So there's like a store there and a gaming like tournament room, and of course the dwarven themed pub Bugman's. But the main like Warhammer World attraction is like, it's like basically a museum you pay to check out, and there's lots of big dioramas and lots of like studio painted models on display, and so many Space Marines, which, you know, shouldn't be surprising at all, but so many Space Marines. Warhammer World was pretty great though. I believe Play on Tabletop has a video on their channel that has like a little tour what it looks like inside. There's like pictures of it floating around many places as well. In hindsight though, I think we would have wanted to spend a bit more time in Nottingham, because Nottingham was like a really cool city with a lot of like old buildings and stuff. So like Warhammer World was cool, but we were like surprised at how cool Nottingham just was in general. Like, I drank an ale at a pub from the 12th century called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem. And there's like a statue of Robin Hood nearby. So yeah, Nottingham was really cool. And then the rest of the trip after that was just like personal, like family vacation stuff that I won't get into on this here miniature painting stream. But it had been since 2019 since I had done like an out-of-country trip. So, you know, it's a little weird traveling again, as I'm sure it is for many people. Yeah, I'm not gonna pick out too many silver details, because if I'm picking out like every rivet in the armor, that's like defeating the purpose of the like fast like tabletop quality paint scheme I was talking about before in regards to the blue. You know, how many times am I gonna say that this stream? There's 24 of these. But you know, we can still pick out some details on the helmet and such. Sorry, I bumped the mic there. Oops. And after going to Warhammer World, we went down the road to Warlord Games. Because, you know, I've been on a bit of a history kick lately, and Warlord Games makes some cool historical titles. And I don't know what to paint these details here. I'll probably just leave those. Yeah, it's hard to say. I might have to look at a reference photo. You were told that you would pilot the Granddaddy Gundam in the 00 AD timeline. Interesting. So that one's not usually in that timeline. Yeah, it kind of looks like this is like a tunic going over top of the armor, but it also could just be a strap. So maybe I should paint that blue. Yeah, I did on this one. Okay, we'll have to go and give that some blue later. Any others? Oh, there's a couple more sections that could use the gunmetal. And Catalyst Game Labs was at GameCon Canada, so I'm fast forwarding from the UK to GameCon Canada now, but since Catalyst Game Labs were there, they're like, they do Mech Warrior, I believe, so they brought the like big inflatable Mech Warrior mech to like display outside the convention hall, so that was pretty fun. It's like the same one that I saw pictures of at Adepticon. If any of you know which one I'm talking about there. Can't believe that's all the silver details to pick out on that one. You have a partially built crossbone Gundam on my shelf that I was just not getting on with. Something about the build just wasn't gelling with me. Is that that's a real grade one, right? That one seems like it's got a lot of tiny parts. I mean, how far did you get into it before you stopped? I guess is a question I have before I give you any advice. All right, Robert. Well, I'm just gonna keep painting. I don't feel like reopening Discord. But like I said earlier, I don't mind if you post the link, but there's no pressure to do so if you don't want to. Alright, how long has it been sitting, not been built there, Sparkster? And yeah, I guess I already asked you that, but how far along did you get? Or was there like a place you stopped because you lost a piece, or you just like couldn't figure out how it was supposed to go? Or was it purely just you weren't feeling it? Oh, the core fighter and legs? Okay. I mean, I try to get through with the legs and the arms being annoying because you have to do them twice. What I do is I clip out I clip out the parts for an entire section all at once. Like usually I do head and chest first, so I clip out all the pieces for the head and chest, then sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how these straps go. Clip out all the pieces for the head and chest. Then I like do the second clip to harvest the sprinkles, so to speak. And then I build them. And then when it comes to like the arms and legs, is this part supposed to be chainmail? So when it comes to the arms and legs, I do like the left and right side at the same times, and just like try and clip the pieces into their like separate piles. Because a lot of the pieces are the same, but you know, some of them are slightly different, you know, for the right and left side. So I keep those separate, and like it makes them take longer, but it ends up being a bit faster because you don't have to do one arm and then the other arm half a year or so. Yeah, I mean, the longer you leave it, the harder it's gonna be to get back to it. So that might just be one of those situations where you gotta just bite the bullet and just get it done and over with. You just do a straight build, you don't have to customize it, and then you'll just feel good to have it like over with, perhaps. and then you'll feel like the next kit you build after that. Or maybe like you can use whatever kit you really want to build that you're excited about as motivation to finish the crossbone. So you could be like, once I'm done this crossbone, I can finally paint, or I can finally build, you know, this other kit that's been staring at me from my backlog or whatever. Hopefully that advice helps. Maybe you could also watch some YouTube videos about the crossbone Gunpla kit. That might motivate you. Or it might not. Depends, I suppose. Okay, well, with how this detail work is going, I feel like painting 24 of these won't be so bad with the tabletop approach I'm taking so far. And these men-at-arms models are not representative of the quality of Conquest miniatures anymore, because these are like from the very first edition of the game from 2019, and their sculpting or their miniature like manufacturing and designing process has improved a lot since then. But you know, with all of that being said, I am still looking forward to like having a fully painted unit of these guys eventually. They're kind of charming, but definitely the models that Parabellum has put out in the last couple of years have far surpassed these. But even if it's like a bunch of really terrible miniature sculpts, if it's like an army of them all consistently painted on the tabletop, it's still a spectacle to behold, in my opinion. And this guy's helmet, I can do a bit more of this detail. Oops, I got a bit of paint on my hand there. I don't think there's a show for Crossbone Gundam. I think it's just a manga. What I meant is like watching like other people customize the model kit on YouTube or do like, you know, ASMR of it or something, or a review. But glad you appreciate the advice nonetheless. Alright, thanks, Robert. Okay, now I need to grab good old model color bronze that looks like gold, kinda. How long we've been streaming for? Oh, it's past an hour already. Almost an hour and a half. Very good. With my return to streaming, the plan was to also return to the usual stream length I was doing before of, you know, 2.5 to 3 hours. Nothing drastic planned there. I think this one's probably not dry yet. Okay, so now... Oh, did I miss a bit of chainmail at the top of the legs there? It's hard to say. hard to say. Gotta look at the legs on the other ones. Might make more sense to just keep that the brown color. Yeah, I think I'll go with that. I don't remember who was talking about the neon Tron edge highlighting earlier with the Tau. Maybe it was Jordan. Or maybe it was Sparkster, I can't remember, but that reminded me of one of the potential ideas I had for the aerial. Was to not do any like my usual glazing gradients and just like only do edge highlights, but try and do like, you know, hashtag extreme edge highlighting or something, or just doing something wacky and different with the edge highlights. But I've also been considering doing it's been a while since I've done a quote-unquote traditional Gunpla build, where I like paint it disassembled with the airbrush and all that, and then apply decals. It's another thing I'm considering. It's a very nice model. It's hard to decide how I'm gonna customize it, and because you know that if I hand paint it, there's always part of me that considers how much of it would need to be glued in place. But the aerial has all those gunned bits that fly around and stuff. So I'm inclined to not like, you know, glue any of those down because I have the flight stands to like pose it with all the bits flying around. I'm not gonna bother painting these rivets bronze now. I'm gonna do that at the end because there's gonna be more work done on this shield and I just have to clean them up again anyways. With the rim of the shield though, it's gonna get a bit of dry brushing, so we do need to tidy up the base here. Oh, sorry, camera wasn't in focus. My bad. Now you can see an area where the airbrush base coat didn't quite get on there. Oh, happy belated birthday, Robert. Adolfo, you started your real grade crossbone. Oh, your second one. Oh, interesting. Why did you end up building a second one? Did you just like it that much? Or did you customize your first one and then you wanted to customize the second one in a different way? Oh, I forgot to clean up the hilt, or the crossguard. Yeah, not too much bronze cleanup needed on this one. I also didn't check the back of the shield. That looks fine. Technically, the more efficient way to do it would be to paint these without the shield attached, but I avoid doing sub-assembly painting with miniatures when I can. So I'm just gonna have to awkwardly paint the inside black. Oh, right, the helmet, that needs a little bit of tidying. White titanium, the black P-band, I see. Those would look nice together on the shelf. Yeah, every time I hear about a model kit having a core fighter, I'm like less inclined to build it. I think it's a cool gimmick to have, but you know, if I'm painting a kit, there's like, I'm not even gonna try making it so that you can like take the core fighter in and out. Like that's just getting locked in there, or removed to be used for something else, who knows. All right, rest well, Robert. It'd be nice if I could get my 100 Kingdoms and Spires armies painted by 2024, you know, in case I'm thinking of picking up the Sorcerer Kings, the 8th faction when they come out. But there'll be a lot of painting to do to get it done in time. So we'll see. Oh, it's like a backpack, I see. I've been a bit too frugal to do so, but I was a little bummed I didn't go see the new Transformers movie, even though like I never saw Transformers 5 the last night because I hated Age of Extinction so much. But you know, as someone who watched Beast Wars as a kid, it's like part of me just really wants to see the new one, since it has the Beast Wars Transformers in it, even if they are like Bayformers. I mean, the Bayformers still look pretty cool. They have some like cool designs. The issues with those movies don't typically come from the Transformers themselves. Tidy up that pommel there. Did anyone in the chat see Transformers? Was it War of the Beasts? Is that what it was called? Or is it Rise of the Beasts? Okay, now we need the P3 Radiant Platinum. Probably need just a little bit more bronze on the palette. We're gonna mix in a bit of the Radiant Platinum for a good old dry brush. Dolfo, I think you said you were painting orcs earlier. Is anyone else painting anything? Or doing any hobbying or various activities they want to talk about in the chat? Yeah, I don't watch too much of those either, Hugo. Though I was Wish for Mercury. I did watch week to week, it's been a while since I'd done that for a show. And then I've got like one friend that I watch anime with regularly. Most of this year we were slowly getting through part 6 of JoJo, which was pretty sweet. Now we've just started Vinland Saga Season 2. And, you know, we also got caught up on Attack on Titan this year. Oh, some Thousand Suns, nice. Yeah, Spider-Verse is definitely a better choice to go to than the new Transformers movie. The Spider-Verse, I was also tempted to see that one, but opted not to for the same reason. I heard Spider-Verse was pretty tight. Trying out this whole texture palette business now. I mean, that's fine to have an army goal like that, even though you don't play. Nothing wrong with that. And yeah, I find like streams are some of the best kind of content to have on while you're also doing something. A lot of the YouTube content I consume is like the videos playing while I'm also doing something else. That's just like a very I don't want to say millennial thing, because, you know, I'm sure lots of other generations do as well. It's just a very 21st century thing. It's like you gotta have content on in the background while you're doing something. And yeah, you don't need to feel bad about not being as chatty. It's encouraging to know that you're also getting some painting done, because, you know, painting a full 1,000 points is no small feat. Is that of your orcs? Or some Spec Marines, perhaps? Doing that now? What is that? Hugo. Yeah, and the point system between 40k and Conquest aren't exactly the same, but my Spire's army is roughly 1,200 points. My 100 Kingdoms, roughly 1,500, and 1,500, like, I know with Warhammer, the kind of common tournament size, as far as I know, across most editions is 2,000 points. In Conquest, it's 1,500 points, it seems like now, but that could change depending on how the tournament scene develops. I think the other Conquest acquisitions I have planned, when I can find a way to acquire them, I'll put my 100 Kingdoms up to 2,000 points probably, and then my Spires up to 1,500, and then from there that'll probably be a good place for me to stop and start a different faction. You know, if I can get them all painted in time, which we'll see. I'm liking how this dry brushing's turning out so far. Marines can kick rocks, hell yeah. I mean, I personally will have a soft spot for my Marines because I do have my Monster Energy Marines, but you know, there's a lot of cool non-Space Marine stuff out there too. And there's a lot more room to do creative kit bashing with orcs. Not that I don't really, I've never really had orcs as a faction. I appreciate their existence though. They're pretty fun to go up against in Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2, the video game, because the orc spaceships are just like ramshackle asteroids with a bunch of thrusters and like cannons strapped to them. It's pretty hilarious. And their tactics are just to like ram into you. You know, very orky of them, obviously. Least surprising tactic for them to use. Oh, you're playing a game. Nice, nice. Yeah, Dolfo, that's a very relatable thing there, especially when it comes to painting miniatures. When you've got an army to paint, like, it does not, like, your painting skill does not need to be good for that army to be an impressive sight to behold. You just need it's more about like consistently, like if an army is consistently painted and there's like a lot of them all displayed together on the tabletop, it's very impressive. It doesn't need to be, you know, good. And that paint was not quite mixed well enough. It's a bit too much medium in there. Oh, the texture palette, some of the sand's coming up. Probably because the glue wasn't fully dry. It's alright. Yeah, I don't know if Fiverr's still watching, but I think in one of the co-streams I did with Fiverr, we probably spent like an hour just gushing over Mad Max Fury Road. So that's one of their favorite movies. Yeah, I saw that opening night in the theaters. It was amazing. No, I got the arm on that one. Okay, one left to go for this dry brushing stage. There's a big clump of paint stuck in the brush here. This is obviously a very haggard old makeup brush. Possibly might need to be retired soon, we'll see. Although, does a dry brushing brush ever truly need to be retired? You know, assuming all you do is dry brush with it. It's like I just have various sizes of dry brushes at this point, and as they get like more frayed and wider, you know, I'll just get some smaller ones, but the wide ones can still like be in the box. To be used when appropriate. Is this mix of paint correct still? do I just not have enough? I think we need just a tiny bit of radiant platinum to be shiny and chrome. Oh, silver calligraphy ink for the banners. That sounds very fancy. And thanks for coming by, Taz. Appreciate you being here. Have a good night yourself. And for those of you who weren't in the stream earlier when I mentioned it, I made an appearance in a Plamotherapist video this week, so you should check it out and just check out his channel in general, because it's good. I shared it on my social media. I shared Taz's video in my social media platforms and a YouTube community post if you need a place to find it. So sorry that the mini is moving around a lot pretty frantically and the camera's freaking out. This dry brushing's pretty frantic, but we'll get to some more laid back paintings soon enough. Dry brushing won't take too much longer. And if I was going for maximum paint efficiency, I should have like gotten all this dry brushing done before laying down any of the blue, but that's just kind of what happens sometimes when you're figuring out the color scheme. You got to figure it out before you like know what the most efficient like order of operations is. Missed a little bit of a spot there. Alright, now I'm just gonna do a really quick silver dry brush on the sword to just make it a little bit shinier. Then we'll be done with the dry brushing. Link. Yeah, I think if it's on my channel, I can probably get that pretty quick. There you go. Oh, with the silver, it's exploding just a little bit. This paint is almost empty. Okay, just gotta make these swords a little sparkly. If you're thinking these swords are a little small and dinky looking, then you wouldn't be the only one. It's part of the charm of the janky model. You know, like I was saying earlier about how they're like from the first generation of Conquest models. But you know, their stats are pretty good in the game. They're a good value like infantry unit, so gonna keep taking them in my armies. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna bother dry brushing the other silver details because they're pretty small, and it's for this unit that I'm badge painting, it ain't worth it. Speaking of shiny and chrome, this is what my dry palette's looking like now. Oh, hello, Prophet89. You got a unit of men-at-arms yourself? Maybe one day we'll see a resculpt of them come out. If that ever happens, then I would definitely pick it up so that my my units I field on the battlefield could be a nice janky mix of the old and the new models. I'd like to be able to do that. I can't imagine them designing them in a way with like the same kind of scale creep, like if you put old like Space Marines next to new Space Marines. I mean, with the Space Marines, they have the excuse of them being like, oh, these are Primaris Space Marines. So maybe that's more applicable. It's more applicable to say Terminator. The ink's a bit of pain in the neck. Oh, you gotta shake it a lot. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine that on a Thousand Suns banner right now. It sounds pretty crisp. Thousand Suns are one of the cooler chapters. Aesthetically anyways. In terms of the Chaos Gods, I usually pick the Slaanesh themed stuff. Not that I've ever collected any Chaos armies. In Total War Warhammer 3, I played the Slaanesh campaign. I still think Khorne and Tzeentch are cool. Don't really like Nurgle. Maybe that's why me and Fiverr get along well. Alright, that was a good lazy dry brush there. Gotta shake off this makeup brush. Now we could just leave it in the water because it's got a lot of paint flecks in it. Yeah, that's the thing, Prophet. Most of, like, there's a lot of minis that, like, look kind of janky unpainted, but once you get them painted up and, like, the unit looking all fancy on the table, it, like, you don't even think about it anymore. And the 100 Kingdoms are, I think they're a pretty cool faction myself personally, and sorry, I'm bumping my desk, making the camera shake. And Men-at-Arms are but one unit of many, or one regiment of many, I should say. Our paint water right now is an interesting metallic or blue with metallic flakes mix right now. The forbidden paint juice. Okay, now we can switch back to the wet palette. What do you think of the Order of the Ashen Dawn models, Prophet 89? Well, while this white is still usable on the palette, I'll just use that up on the shields, because we did get some, splash some metallic paint onto there that we need to cover up. It's only natural to occur, one dry brushing. Gotta be more wary of the border between the metallic and the white, though. Well, we gotta be wary of making mistakes onto all the metallic sections now that we've dry brushed them. You're an enjoyer of the Ashen Dawn, I see. Oh, two starter sets. You mean the like original Spires versus 100 Kingdom starter sets? Yeah, I opted for my. I opted to expand my 100 Kingdoms army the non-religious route. Like I wanted to focus on the chapter mage instead of the theist priest. So I feel like once I get I need to get the new like one player starter set 100 Kingdoms. I've got a plan to like, you know, kit bash some of it to make more retinues. And like I kit bashed my original mounted noble lord, which I'll post pictures of eventually at some point. I kit bashed it to hold one of the Steel Legion great swords so that, you know, when I get that 100 Kingdoms starter set, because it comes with a noble lord and I don't need a second one, but if that one has it'll look different because it'll have the lance and shield instead of the great sword I kit bashed, so then I can just use that as the tourney champion and use that extra household knight to just add another one to the regiment. That's my big brain move anyways. Like I already have a unit of household guard and men-at-arms, so I can, like, I'll build the ones that also come in the starter set to expand my units, but I'll be able to have a decent amount of leftover parts to make more of them good old retinues. Because since doing that last video where I kit bashed those 2 retinues with crossbowmen bodies, I made 2 more, which I posted pictures of right after GameCon. So now I've got 4 custom retinue models. If I get 6, then that's like 2. Then I can have 2 warlords that have like a full 3 retinue each. And that's without even buying the official like 100 Kingdoms retinue model box, which I think still looks cool. I just, you know, haven't picked it up because I gotta prioritize the purchases. I couldn't. I like the purchases I made at UK Games Expo. I bought the Ward Preceptor, the Assault Preceptor for my Spires, and then the Chapter Mage and the Seasoned Veteran for my 100 Kingdoms, and that was what I capped my Conquest purchases at, unfortunately. Ah, the single player stats. Ah, you're a Menoth player back in the day. Yeah, that would make sense that you would go the religious route then. If you're a Menoth player, you should go the religious 100 Kingdoms route. That'll probably be more your vibe then. Frankenstein also, well, first of all, hello. Oh, I think I missed a message earlier. Oh no, I didn't. So it's funny you say solo war games in 5 parsecs from home, because I've been looking for the fantasy version of that forever, which is called 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, because I saw Ash Barker playing it on his channel. And 5 parsecs from home looks very good. I have more fantasy minis though, and I tend to lean more fantasy in general, so for a while a couple stores I visited, they always had 5 parsecs from home if they had them, but like 5 Leagues from the Borderlands was always sold out. But this week actually, my local store, I went there to drop off the demo armies, and they had a copy of 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, so I snatched that up right away, and I'm very excited about it. And I really like how the form factor is a bit smaller, like the book is a bit more compact compared to like the usual size of like Games Workshop army book. Okay, we're painting the like leather cloth details now with burnt umber. Vallejo model color burnt umber. So yeah, I have 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, but I've been pretty busy with Conquest and video stuff this week, so I haven't even started reading it yet. But it's sitting right underneath Domo in the background there, just being asked to be read. Yeah, Ash Barker's good for that. Or he's good for that, but bad for the wallet. I mean, if it weren't for Ash Barker, I wouldn't have Gamma Wolves to customize on my Gunpla around. I mean, there are other Gunpla tabletop games out there, so in an alternate timeline where he doesn't write Gamma Wolves, perhaps I would have something else to do instead, but I have gotten a lot of mileage and enjoyment out of Gamma Wolves, as I'm sure many of you know. Yeah, Modiphius puts they do good work, or they seem like a good company to be behind. I know I've heard of the expansion for 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. I don't remember what it's called. Are there any other 5 blank books out yet, or is there anything else announced? Yeah, I was thinking for the pants here, I could yeah, it's hard to see. Like, some of them, it looks like there's metal straps or leather straps, but I think for back to like the easy tabletop scheme thought process, I'll probably just, maybe it's less obvious on that one. Like, this one has more obvious straps. I was like debating whether to paint those a different color or not, or like paint the pants black. But I'll probably just do it all brown, because that's just like, that's more conducive to like a faster to do badge painting, tabletop painting vibe. I could leave this like ankle section though. Bronze? Well, I think we'll do that. Oh, I just painted over it. Yeah, the details, okay, I'll just wipe off this paint real quick. I'll have to tidy that up later, which is fine. Who knows, maybe one day we'll see Ash Barker playing Conquest. It's like, you know, it's the bigger war games he tends to play are like bigger as in like model count. I mean, it's mostly what I've seen from him has been, or seems like the ones he does regularly is Infinity and the Games Workshop stuff, and then the other games he features tend to be like the smaller skirmish size, or like dungeon crawly indie games, or like, you know, the ones he writes. Conquest might be one of those ones he doesn't have time to get into. It's hard to say. Maybe he just doesn't like the larger scale of the models, and he wants to, like, because he plays so many agnostic games, he just wants to keep all of his collection in roughly the same scale. Yeah, Table Fussy is like, yeah, I mean, I don't have much experience with solo games, or like games designed for solo play. So I imagine like the way those games designed are significantly different than most war games. German gray, or any almost black gray. Yeah, grays and blacks are good for speedy paint schemes. Yeah, what do y'all think? Do you think this kind of back ankle strap there should be brown or some other color? Yeah, Frankie Stein, what initially grabbed me about 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, other than the whole like customizing a whole warband that's like unique to you, is pretty sweet, but also the part where you gotta like draw up your own map for the setting. I thought that was pretty sweet. That was like the first thing that got my attention. There are some models I picked up at UK Games Expo from Black Scorpion Miniatures. that initially I was like thinking they would maybe just get added to my Warhammer Fantasy Empire army that I would play agnostic games with. But they're a little bigger in scale, so they might just be appropriate to use as their own like 5 leagues from the borderlands party. But you know, like many things, that's just a big project to go in the backlog. It's pretty low on the priority list, so who knows when I'll get a chance to get to it. I'm looking forward to reading the book, though. Oh yeah, it almost always looks fine when you toss a wash on it. Like that's kind of one of the issues with the older Conquest models. The sculpts, some of the details are not, or like some of them kind of like blend into each other more so than they should. I don't know what the term for that would be. Oh, we're past the 2-hour mark. Good work, everybody. Not gonna end things soon or anything, but I will need to take a bathroom break soon. Well, thank you, Frankie. Glad you like how these are turning out. I'm pretty pleased with how they're looking myself. I mean, they are gonna get a wash, but that'll be like before any of the highlighting work is done on the blue and before the shields are finished. So the blue and the shield pattern are gonna pop a lot. I'm not going for grimdark with this, really. They're not going to be as vibrant as like my hand-painted Gunpla, but I want them to be a very colorful army to display on the table, which is kind of what, I don't know if you're here earlier when I was explaining how the medium units, the accent color's blue, so you know the men-at-arms, they're a medium unit, and then the Steel Legion, which I already painted, they're a heavy unit, so they get purple. And the light units, green is going to be the accent color. And then the warlords and character stuff is going to be red, which you might have possibly seen with my latest video where I did those retinue models. Yeah, when I'm looking at the glove here, or the hand, I'm thinking like maybe that can be painted black and the boots can be black as well. I think that'll do a lot in terms of breaking up the color. I think that might be something I need to do. Because the boots are a little close in color to the base right now. Yeah, I mean, Grimdark can look really good, especially on Space Marines. It's like pretty easy to do a lot of the time. and it looks good. But, you know, very pristine, crispy, edge-highlighted Space Marines can also look good. I'm not very... Like, I've painted a couple, like, weathered, grimdarky things, but it's not my usual go-to, that's for sure. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to do black on the inside of the shield as well. But we'll move on to the brown for the next one. Green stuff modeling. Now, green stuff, that's something I am not great at. I could be better at it, but I get too fed up working with it that I don't get that much practice using it. What are you doing with the green stuff? Oh, sorry, Dolfo, I missed your message earlier. Thanks for coming by. You're probably gone now, but thanks. Oh yeah, and your comment, Frankie, about messing with the crew sheets and equipment. I definitely get what you mean with that. I mean, I love just building Conquest lists in the app for fun. And I'm sure that's pretty common among wargamers. Just like you can spend a lot of time just building and tweaking around different lists and all that with your war gear and stuff. Try and find the perfect balance. So I imagine I'll have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff in 5 leagues as well. And thank you, Prophet89, for dropping by as well. Appreciate it. Have a good night yourself. Yeah, the sculpt on this side of the leg is a little mushier. It's a bit less defined, you could say. Filling in holes of the vengeful skull root. I don't know that model, but that doesn't sound, or that sounds like a decent like warm-up practice green stuff activity. Doesn't sound too bad. So that's admirable of you to force yourself to work with it to get better. Did you also have the problem where you like had to buy more green stuff because it had been so long since you worked with it that your original supply dried up? 'Cause that's definitely happened to me a few times. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I've done, I think the most complex thing I did with green stuff was on my Privateer Press Archangel, which is like a big dragon model. I bought it used, and one of the wing spikes had snapped off like before I got it. So I sculpted, or I like drilled a hole to like put in a paperclip rod, and then sculpted a new pointy wing bit on there. And I think I did a pretty good job in matching the look of the other ones. Like, there's a couple people I showed it to. You know, this was like years ago. There's a couple people I showed it to who are like, Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell if you didn't show me. So that was a confidence boost, but overall it was a pretty basic green stuff work. Most of the other stuff I had done with it was honestly just gap filling. I think I don't have any, or the green stuff I have in my drawer right now is like, I'm almost certain it's dried up. But I think I have some milliput that's still workable. Yeah, no, this guy's strap under his helmet. I'm not sure what to do with that. Or I'm not sure what color to paint that. Oh, I just noticed a big mistake I made earlier. Well, not a big mistake, just a little one. Alright, good night, Sparkster. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. And I hope to bring you another stream soon. I am not, like I say in most streams, I'm not gonna do any kind of stream, like regular stream schedule. But I'm hoping that the next video project, which is Gunpla, should be like the ball. Well, I mean, the ball is rolling on that already, but I should be like actually painting it hopefully next week. So I'm hoping to also do a stream or two with that, and just in general stream as often as I can. But like before, the main focus is still going to be on, or like the streams are going to still be supplementary to the actual videos, and I appreciate everyone's patience and how long it takes for me to release the videos sometimes, but you know what they say, can't rush perfection. And that's not me implying my videos are perfect, that's just, you know, the figure of speech, because my videos are definitely not perfect. Alright, good luck with the sports ball, Hugo. I hope you score the points, etc. Yeah, this model color bronze I'm a fan of because, you know, it goes well with the purple. For the Steel Agent, it's going well with the blue here. I think the only light unit I have to paint now are the Imperial Rangers, and they're going to have a lot of like leather and stuff on them. There's only going to be probably a couple like tiny details that'll get the bronze color, but you know, I'm pretty confident that that color scheme's going to work out well as well. The YouTube stuff's my main job right now, but you know, there's a lot of stuff I end up doing that's not YouTube per se. I'm also like looking for a job because the YouTube stuff isn't covering the bills entirely. I gotta dip into the saving. Well, I've been dipping into the savings for a while, which I don't recommend, but you know, sometimes it's just what you gotta do. Economy, am I right? The main thing that's been like slowing down the progress on videos has been, well, I had that trip to the UK and all that, and then I was running demos of Parabellum at GameCon, And both of those things also involved collecting a bit of footage to put into videos, but, you know, my videos are still based around doing some sort of, like, model project. And my videos, I do take my sweet time with them. So, like, I've still been working full-time doing the YouTube stuff for the, you know, like, I only had a brief break from working full-time in the UK. And even then, I did do some work in the UK. So I've been pretty busy, but a lot of, or like a larger mix of that work than usual has been to do with, like, you know, trying to grow the local Conquest community and do the GameCon stuff. So it's like still work, but it's not work that's directly involved with making the YouTube videos. Which, you know, anytime a YouTuber has something that slows down the release of videos, you really feel the pressure on, because, you know, algorithm, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, now that I'm streaming again, I'm feeling a bit better about it. I'll be able to start, or I've got a bunch of, like, photos built up that I'm gonna be posting. I'm slowly getting back into the groove of things. And all the stuff that has been distracting me from making the proper YouTube videos has all been, like, good, positive, and enjoyable stuff for me, so I can't really complain too much. It's just, like, none of it's been stuff that'll help me that much in paying my bills. But, you know, sometimes that's just how things are. Money isn't everything. Okay, done the brown for now. Yeah. I mean, the main issue with me is that the content I make is a niche within a niche. It's like hobby painting models, and then on top of that, it's like Gunpla and Conquest stuff, you know, for the most part. So that's like, there's a certain limit, there's a limited audience for that stuff. The thing I always tell people, it's like, if I was making cooking content, it'd be a lot easier to pay the bills, because a lot more people cook than, like, paint Gundam and miniatures, you know? Okay, we're gonna switch to the black. You know, I like cooking, but I don't, you know, my main creative interest is the painted models, so that's what I'm gonna make YouTube videos about, because it's what I'm passionate about. Yeah, the time-intensive part's an important thing to mention as well. It's like, if you're looking in terms of things to make, like, YouTube content about, like scale modeling and miniature stuff, that's, like, you know, time-intensive, tedious hobbies are not, like YouTube is not geared towards that, like, or the YouTube partner program, I should say, or YouTube monetization isn't geared towards that kind of stuff. But, you know, the people who do make it work, you know, like the big YouTubers out there, like Maniac, etc., they, well, for one thing, Maniac started, like, way back in, like, 2016 or 2017, I think. I don't quite remember. So he's been, like, grinding away at it for a long time. But what I was saying is, like, there are, like, exceptions to the views ceiling that exists. They've broken past the views ceiling, but there's, you know, they're like the exception to the rule, kind of. You know, every YouTuber and every content creator has their own unique story behind them and how they got there. You know, some people like Maniac, it was like a long, slow grind to get where they are. And they, like, in a way, built up the, like, mini painting YouTube scene from nothing. And, you know, people like Midwinter Minis, they, like, just had some casual videos out, and, like, one or two of them just happened to blow up. and he like, you know, took that chance to start a little career off that. Plenty of YouTubers have quite varying stories behind them. And that goes for like any niche. Like I know a guy who I worked with before the pandemic, and his big pivot was to buy a van and DIY modify it to be his home so he could live that van life. And he documented the whole thing in YouTube videos, and his YouTube videos ended up getting enough traction for him to like turn into a little content creator gig. And, like there's a whole YouTube scene for like van life living. Like there's lots of people that'll watch videos about that. But you know, like his style of videos is like nothing like mine at all. So like any of the techniques he uses for YouTube success can't, like, I mean, I can't say that 100%, but a lot of them, like, they can't be applied to my channel, because it's like I'm painting models, or I'm painting, or my one sentence description is customizing models for tabletop games and display. And his videos, it's like vlog, van life, living. It's like that. Those are two different ends of the spectrum there in a way. Can't really compare the two. Super happy for his success though. He did, I mean, it was super impressive just seeing him like DIY, customize, and modify the van to be like livable, which is pretty crazy. Right, we gotta do the black on the inside of the shield as well. Yeah, no, Maniac does have a whole operation that's very impressive. But, you know, that's like pretty much like a decade's worth of like growth and strategy and planning behind it. Yeah, painting the inside of this shield without messing up too much is a little tricky. But, you know, you can always fix the mistakes if you make them. Also, this game color black, it dries pretty matte, which I like. But for a black, it sometimes takes a couple coats to get the result I want, which is not something I'm used to. I guess I was used to that with the Army Painter matte black. That one was like straight up called matte black. I think this one's just called black. I do prefer this one to how the Army Painter matte black was. Yeah, I get what you mean, Frankie. But it's like it took years of putting out quality vids for him to get to the point where his audience was big enough and like he had enough of like a cushion and like enough algorithmic support to like be able to spend the time to do the outside YouTube monetization. And you have to like make quality vids and like consistent audience views to be able, or for like companies to approach you for sponsorships a lot of the time. But yeah, it's like a familiar path you see a lot of YouTubers do. You gotta like spend a lot of time grinding and just doing nothing but put out videos and grow the audience, and then once that's big enough you can like take a bit of focus away from the videos itself to, you know, put out, I mean, what you see a lot of cooking channels do is like put out a cookbook, which, you know, makes total sense as merch for a cooking channel to have, or, you know, a kind of kitchenware product. You know, no point in doing that stuff if your audience is like still only at like a smaller medium size. It's like it's more worth it to just wait until your audience is big enough. You can guarantee that, you know, enough people would be interested in your product. Like if I spent a bunch of time and energy developing, I don't know, some kind of like hobby product or tabletop game product or something, and I'm sure if I announced it, there would be like a handful of people who would be interested in spending their money on it. But at this point, not enough people to like justify taking the focus away from, because taking any focus away from the YouTube channel harms your growth, because you're just spending less time making the content. And I'm definitely at the stage where I need to like just focus more on the channel's growth before I like the main outside YouTube monetization thing I focus on is the Patreon, but like the Patreon's a bit different. It's a bit easier to keep that up while you're also doing the YouTube, because the Patreon benefits a lot of the time are just related to, or like have a direct tie to the YouTube videos themselves. I guess the thing I have on Patreon that isn't that, or like the wallpapers I do. But no, those are pretty much tied, because when I'm taking photos of the models when they're finished, I just also will take wallpaper photos sometimes. So the only main thing on my Patreon that's like not directly tied to YouTube is the vlogs. And those are like, you know, they're pretty casual vlogs, so they don't take too much time to edit, and like they're tied to certain goals on Patreon, so I don't do them super often, so they don't take too much focus away from the channel. Yeah, I think this is looking better now that I'm painting the shoes and the gloves black. What do y'all think? Yeah, I did hear about that with Black Magic Craft. But at the same time, it's pretty like impressive that he was able to like, you know, make his own game and put it out in the first place. But yeah, and he was at a spot where his channel can afford to take a bit of the algorithmic hit to like pull away the focus to make that game. But you know, he still did have to take a bit of a hit in doing that. But I got respect for that. It ain't easy putting out your own Kickstarter. Oh boy, we're almost almost at 2.5 hours. I'm glad you like the black gloves. I don't think I can do the van life living, Robert. I'm too much of a hoarder. I got too many things. I don't know if it would be too tricky to get like just to get a good like painting desk set up in the van when I also have to like, you know, have clothes and places to store food and all that. I don't think the van life's for me. I'm a homebody. I don't know if Blue Parappa would want to live in a van with me either. She already can't escape my burps, so it'd be even worse if she's like just trapped in a van with me. I mean, she wouldn't be trapped, but you know what I mean. Well, I'm probably just gonna keep painting for a bit and not do that bathroom break. I think I can hold it until the stream's done. I'm not sure which section I'm gonna paint. Or I'll probably like get some of the blue areas I missed next. Maybe I'll do the black outline on the shield, perhaps. We shall see in a moment. Some of these black Harrys will need a second coat, though. That's probably what I'll end up doing. Did I get the inside of the shield? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, similar thought process to me there, Frankie. Too many. You can't have, like, a lot of... Or, like, the Gunpla hobby and the van life. They don't quite align, you know? Or the same with, like, miniature war games. That would be... Yeah, it's like... Where you gonna... I guess if you could have someone's house, or maybe, like, a game store owner you were friends with, they would let you, like, store your army with them. At the same time, I don't know about many people. I mean, my friend that does the van life thing, he definitely doesn't do any tabletop wargaming or tabletop games. And, like, you gotta be wary of your electricity usage when you're doing the van life a lot of the time as well, so it's like you'd have to be wary of using, like, a high-powered, like, lamp for proper lighting for miniature painting. Hello, Nicholas. My method for nub cleanup. Yes, the gold bits. I mean, my nub cleanup is, I don't really do anything revolutionary. I'm pretty lazy about it, and that a lot of that's due to the fact that the way I paint the Gunpla, a lot of the time there's so much, like, edge highlighting and gradients or freehand that if there are nubs on there, you really gotta, like, look for them, because there's so much paint work to distract. So when it comes to nub cleanup, I usually just do a pretty basic sanding job. I guess my ideal sponges would be, like, you know, like 600 or so to start, and then 800, and then 1,000. Depending on, like, what I have available. A lot of the time I just gotta work with what I got. And I do have, like, you know, I've got the crude pair of basic nippers for the initial cut off the sprue, and then I leave, or cut off the runner, and then I leave, like, a nub there, or, like, leave a chunk of plastic on there, and then I grab my, like, nicer Disbay nippers to slice off that that forbidden sprinkle, as if you will. So that just, like, makes it so there's a bit less of a nub mark to clean up in the first place. A bit less sanding work to do. And a lot of the time, if it's like a nub that, you know, is obvious that it won't really be seen, I just won't sand it, really. When it comes to sanding nub marks, I get particularly lazy about it, because I'm just not a fan of sanding. You got Necrons in a paint kit, Xerox. White paint. Are you talking about white paint to, like, use as a base for the glowing effects? Or is your, like, Necron color scheme gonna be all based around white, and the main color of the Necrons are gonna be white? And I find the Vallejo whites are, like, decently consistent. Just get a nice solid clean white base coat, and then when you say Tesseract Glow, I'm assuming that's the name of, like, the paint GW has that's intended for the glow effects. Yeah, no fucks, I do. The sprue cut, then the flush cut. The flush cut, I use the Disbay nippers. I like red ones. And then the sprue cut, I just have, you know, like, basic, normal, like, starter, whatever, entry grade nippers. I don't even remember what they're, like, you know, $10. The Display nippers, and you know, and just like fancier nippers like God Hand tier ones in general are good for minis as well. Like kit bashing, if you want to like do a weapon swap, they're good at just like making a nice clean slice at the wrist. It's a lot easier than having to saw it off. Also, hello, Mr. Givens. Yeah, hobby knife. Hobby knife can work good sometimes, but I find with the hobby knife, I had too many slips where I accidentally like cut too much plastic away, and then I have to like sand anyways to make it to like smooth it down. But I know the hobby knife technique is like something a lot of people do. Yeah, I mean, Xerox, if you have to paint a lot of Necrons, I would, like, all you really need to do is make sure that white base coat is, like, solid and not streaky, and then, just apply the Tesseract glow on top of it. Make sure it doesn't pool too much. Like, when you're applying the Tesseract glow, you gotta make sure it all goes on wet in that section at the same time, kind of how you don't want patches to dry when you're applying a wash. I'd say the same thing applies with the Tesseract glow, because that Tesseract glow you're kind of just glazing. And also for that specifically, that's like a pretty like foundational Necron thing, so there's probably some, like Games Workshop probably has some tutorials on that, if not like many other YouTube channels would have videos on how to paint Necrons, because a bunch of people probably uploaded them, like when Indomitus came out a couple, or what, how many years ago was that? What, 3 years ago? Because that Tesseract Glow paint came out around that time for the launch of 9th edition. Also, it's crazy how 9th edition is over already. And if you want to like the Tesseract glow to like be even glowier, you can, you know, you get some, you paint the glow on the glowing section, but then you also spill over a bit onto the edges of the sections it's touching, and that like really gives it a glow effect. It's like the same technique of how I paint my glow effects on my Gunpla, if you know what I'm talking about. Which one haven't I done the brown cleanup on? Is it this one? Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've tried the Games Workshop whites, but from what I've heard, the Vallejo, well, I find Vallejo paint is like a lot better value in general. The only Games Workshop paints I buy these days, it's like if there's like a certain effect one I need, like the Crackle base paint, like the Desert one or the Mars one, or you know, like good old Null Oil. But in terms of like just straight up paint, like acrylic paints, I almost never buy the Games Workshop ones. So like I use the Apothecary White contrast paint with my 100 Kingdoms, because that's a good product, but you know, it's pricey. Like I only buy the GW stuff if it's something like I really need. Yeah, I mean, Frankenstein, you're describing most editions of 40k there. Oh yeah, black gloss bits. Those are extra hard to sand too. Oh yeah, NoFux has a good point there too, Xerox. If you get some, it's a good painting supply to have in general. Get some paint mixing balls and drop that in the in your Tesseract glow, so you can like effectively shake up the paint before your sessions. I definitely had to do that with my Apothecary white paint. That one separates really bad. Like, I have it right here. You could probably... Okay, I shook it a bit before, but like that's the bottom color, but then the paint itself is pretty gray. But it has a mixing ball in it, so it didn't come with the mixing ball, unfortunately. Yeah, that sounds like a good technique too, no fucks. Do you brush on the transparent neon paint? I know some people prefer to do glow effects with airbrush. It's a much different look. Alright, let's, I think we need to do, let's do another coat of black. Actually, the blue's gonna be a bit quicker. Let's do that, because there's just a couple tunics with blue sections that I missed. I don't think I'm gonna go back to the blue on the base this session. I'll do a bit of blue and then some black, and then I'll probably wrap up the stream because we're at 2 hours 40 minutes. So I'll probably got like 10-15 more minutes to go of energy. We'll see. Yeah, like this little frill here, I could peck that out with a detail if I want to, but I think for this tabletop quality scheme, we just gotta also make that blue. We gotta make our compromises where we can, so that the unit is actually completed one day. It's just gonna be at least 24 of these bad boys. Yeah, I like the golden high flow colors. They're good for, you know, like a thin runny paint. I use the high flow titanium white a lot with my Gunpla work. But it's not like a good, if you need to like lay down a solid white base coat, it's not the best because it's like super thin. It's almost like pre-thinned for an airbrush, depending on your airbrushing setup. I'll leave this little part here at the neck the bronze color because it looks like it's supposed to stay that way. Yeah, all the GW, or pretty much all the GW minis I still have are, if I play any game with them, it's gonna be an agnostic game. I played Kill Team in a decent amount of Kill Team in like 2018 and 2019. And then, you know, but when the pandemic was getting to the point where like you could start to play games again with people cautiously, the new edition of Kill Team was out, and I didn't want to get into it. And then, you know, it didn't take too long for me to discover one-page rules, and it's like, okay, well, if I want to play Kill Team, I'd rather play one-page rules. And yeah, one-page rules is like on the simpler side, but if I want like a super crunchy war game, I'm gonna be like, I'll be playing something like Conquest, Last Argument of Kings, you know, Kill Team, like skirmish size games, smaller models. It's kind of like, if I'm playing that style of game, I want it to be a bit more like fast and quick. Vallejo, man, yeah. Yeah, good old Angel Geraldes, one of the goats. His painting videos are very good to watch. It like almost demystifies a lot of the process, but at the same time, he like makes it look pretty effortless, and then pulls off some pretty crazy results. Yeah, golden does make a lot of good stuff. I still gotta try the golden so flat colors eventually, but they're pricey. And that's the thing, or that's the problem with artist. I mean, it's not a problem, but that's just the thing with artist acrylics is they're like, you don't go to the model hobby shop for that stuff, you go to the art store, and that stuff's expensive. You know, if money wasn't an issue, I could very well get all my brushes and paints at the art store. But how things are now, I only have a few things from the art store. You know, I get stuff from there when I can, or, you know, sometimes as a birthday gift, I'll get a gift card for the art store. I could pick up a nice brush or two. Do this one. Space Weirdos, haven't heard of that one. Yeah, in a way, one-page rules, like you could say they duplicated rule sets. I'd say the way with how simplified the stat blocks are, and the way a lot of things work, I'd say it's different enough. But at the same time, if they're duplicating anyone's rule set other than Games Workshop, it would be a way different story. It's like one-page rules, they're trying to like serve the people's needs who like don't have the energy or like the resources perhaps to like fully dive into like the really cumbersome GW rules ecosystem, where it's like, yeah, they have a free app for 10th edition technically, but like there's going to be features blocked behind a paywall eventually. And it's like, yeah, the rules are kind of free, but you're still probably going to end up have to buy like at least your army books and some data cards. Like one-page rules will never have that. I mean, as far as I can tell. It's like they have an important role of like being, you know, if you want to play Warhammer but, you know, want something a lot more accessible, because the cost entry for Warhammer is pretty ridiculous, you know, depending. If you want to get into Warhammer but only do kill team, it's obviously not as bad. But even then, like, kill team has regular like rules updates and stuff that comes out that requires you to buy new products. So maybe there's some people out there that's like, well, I could try kill team, but even that's a bit much for me to invest. So for them, like, one-page rules is like, a lot of people would be happy to have that option. But I understand your critique there of them duplicating rule sets. That's a valid critique for sure. Yeah, if Games Workshop had something like the OGL, like what D&D did, when the transition from 3rd edition to 4th edition, that would be, I mean, that's so different. That's so like counter to how they run as a company. It's hard to even imagine what that would be like, but obviously that would be like an amazing thing for them to do for the community. But that's like, that'd be like one of the least Games Workshop moves ever to do something like that. Oh yeah, what does one-page rules have contests for like lore writing stuff, or? I didn't know about that. Yeah, and I need to decide the like kind of chin strap part of this model, whether to leave it metal or not. Like the back of the helmet, guess I could do part of it leather. I might have to look at some reference photos. Yeah, I mean, I know with Warhammer the Old World coming out, Games Workshop has sent some cease and desists to the Warhammer Armies project, also known as WAP, but I think that's just because they were straight up just using some Games Workshop art and like lore or something, possibly. Like, they're not, the Warhammer Armies project isn't gonna shut down over this or anything, which is good. They're definitely gonna like take a bit of a hit though when Warhammer the Old World comes out. At least I think they will. Lore and rules and campaigns, that's cool. But yeah, I guess they would never be able to monetize that, but it does, like, there is an issue there with the lack of incentive. I get what you're saying. Okay, I'm gonna put a dollop of black on the palette, use that up, and then that's gonna be the stream for tonight. 3 custom Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans high-grade kits like Necrons. Cool. Like, are they gonna be proxies for a 40k model or something? Or are you just like customizing them to be Necron inspired? Either way, sounds pretty cool. Maybe we will get to the 3-hour mark. A Necron-inspired custom, that sounds cool. Oh, I'm glad I inspired you that way, Frankie. And I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, thank you. Chatting with you has definitely made the time fly by. And kept me, chugging away with the paintbrush here. Oh, sorry, I missed your message earlier there, Mr. Givens. You want to make a modified Necromunda game? Oh, it's like a MOBA? That's cool. Every time you run a league, there's always, like, some gangs that end up bullying everyone else. Is that what you mean? There's some pretty cool Necromunda displays at Warhammer World. I mean, my favorite display I saw was like a surprise to no one. It was the one with the big like Empire castle defending thing. And then probably the most impressive one was the Ossiarch Bone Reaper one. They have like a big citadel where there's like a bunch of like peasants walking into the entrance carrying like tributes, and then there's like a bunch of cutaway sections along the sides where you can see into the catacombs. It was quite large. It's hard to even describe it. You're banned from using redemptionists, I see. Yeah, one of the Conquest play group in my area in my city that plays in like the different area at the further away game store from me. I think one of the players there, they had to like, or they made a collective agreement to like ban one of the models he was running because it was like just bullying everybody else's lists with it. Sometimes that kind of thing is necessary. I know there's a rules update coming to like balance out the monsters in Conquest a bit in August, so maybe they'll unban his list for a bit. see how it does after the rebalance. Alright, I'm gonna use up the rest of this black. I'm gonna try that, like, outline the pattern idea I mentioned earlier. I haven't had a chance to try the Gamma Wolves campaign mode, Frankie. I don't think... It's hard to balance any kind of campaign system. Because, like, what Gamma Wolves has the thing where you collect items and, like, artifacts to upgrade your pilots and mechs. And, you know, some of them are obviously more powerful than others, so it's, like, really hard to balance something like that if you're, like, progressing in a campaign system. Like, it's, like, natural, like, depending on how things roll out. For, like, some suits to end up as, like, way more powerful because they got, like, lucky with an item drop. Nicholas, I'm kind of spoiled. I do have multiple good options for shops to buy Gunpla in my city. There's one store that's like sells like lots of model trains and RC stuff that's like as you described, they just like reluctantly carry the Gunpla, but they're like not one of the good shops to go to for Gunpla because there are just like better options. There's a couple, like one of them, it is kind of like a nerdy like anime merch store where you can buy, you know, like there'll be lots of figures and statues and Pokemon cards and Pokemon merch and stuff, and like a good Gunpla selection. And then there's another one where it's more of like a card shop that's like has a lot of Magic the Gathering and like Pokemon cards and a bit of board games, a bit of Warhammer, and they also have like a solid Gunpla selection. And then there is like a small like kind of hole in the wall store downtown that is like pretty much entirely Gunpla. It's actually a pretty janky mix because it's like a mix of cosmetics, like makeup stuff, but also Gunpla. It's like a real mom and pop shop where it's like makeup and Gunpla, but the selection of Gunpla there is very good. So I guess I'm spoiled in that way, and I'm also spoiled for just like hobby game stores in general. There's like long cold winters where I live, so hobbies where you stay inside and like work on stuff are very popular. So there's like a healthy modeling like wargaming scene here. Yeah, I think not to like harp on Gamma Wolves or anything, but I don't think like most of the time and energy put into Gamma Wolves was with the game mechanics, and the campaign system was kind of like just a little bonus thing afterwards. I don't think Ash Barker was like too concerned about making it balanced, but I mean, I can't speak on that really. You'd have to ask him. He wrote Gamma Wolves like a while ago now, so he's like he's put out another game since then. So I don't know when I'll be. I have a magazine, like an indie game magazine called Blaster. I have a volume of it that has a Gamma Wolves expansion in it, but it's pretty small. And other than that, I don't know what other Gamma Wolves stuff there will be down the line. But if you join, there's a Gamma Wolves Facebook group. And I bet you could find some homebrew. Well, I know there's like homebrew stuff that happens in that group. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone like modified or like made their own campaign system. I don't know if there's a subreddit or anything. I don't use Reddit. But there is a Facebook group. Yeah, I've heard the 40k campaign rules are pretty decent, actually. And when you're playing like war games, it's like stuff with armies of multiple models. A lot of time campaigns can like function as good slow grow league systems, where you can just like build up your army and like get familiar with it. Yeah, these shield patterns look a lot better now, them adding the black outline, I do say. Yeah, D&D dice are definitely useful in a lot of tabletop RPGs. It depends on which one you play. And even like if you're staying within D&D, there's like certain dice you might want to buy more of depending on what class you play. Like if you're well, I'm assuming 5th edition D&D here. If you're playing like a wizard that takes the spell Fireball, you'll definitely want to pick up some more D6s. Like if you're playing it's always in 5th edition, it's good to have like a second D20 for when you're rolling with advantage or disadvantage as well. Some of the middle black line on this one's a little thick. It's getting a little uneven here. Well, it's a good thing that was the last one. Okay, if you have any last minute questions or super chats or anything you want to do in the chat, now's your chance, because I'm going to start wrapping up the stream now. Yeah, the Midwest does breed hobbyists. Well, yeah, I mean, well, the Midwest and, you know, the further east you go, there's just so many people there in general, especially compared to where I live in Canada. It makes sense there would just be, like, a bigger Warhammer scene. But also, yeah, the Midwest being, like, you know, colder. I mean, the Midwest doesn't get as cold as where I live. I mean, I guess it sometimes does. It's different. The climate there is, like, more humid, so it's, like, a different kind of cold, maybe a bit more snow. It still gets really cold where I live, though. Not that it's a contest. Where was I going with this? But, yeah, it totally makes sense that, like, hobbies like miniature painting would be super popular in the Midwest. Especially with like the lack of super dense urban areas in a lot of cities. You end up just spending a lot of time at your own home. Which is good for the mini painting part, but for the like meeting up at the game store for games part, maybe not as good. Well, I'm pretty pleased with the progress I made on these. Not entirely sure when the next stream will be. Maybe there'll be another stream with these guys like early next week to just finish them up. Might finish them up off stream. I'm waiting to hear back on some things for next weekend, so I can't say whether or when I'll be doing a stream. But as always, like I said earlier, I do want to just stream as often as I can. So if you're following me on those good old social media platforms or staying tuned in with my YouTube community posts or whatnot, you should see the announcements for those streams when they happen. This has been a very nice stream to get back into the groove of things with, though, so I appreciate everyone coming by and chatting. And thanks to those two people, Otaku Builder and the person who super chatted before the stream even started. Faye, thank you for the super chats. And yeah, thanks again to everyone for watching. I'll leave the stream up just a little bit longer as I put these paints in the tray. And my dry palette is even more chaotic now. Well, it's very shiny and chrome right now, but now it's got this janky texture on the side here. I'm not sure what you mean by big eyes, small mouths there, Robert. Yeah, no problem, Xerox. See you, Nicholas. Alright, well, I'm pretty much packed up now, so I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you hopefully soon for the next stream. Bye.